Welcome back to Lost in Theaters, the podcast where we talk about movies that have slipped through the cracks of pop culture. My name is Rachel Luley, and I'm here with...
That's not your name.
Oh
my gosh. I'm Ruth.
And who am I? Ruth?
Rachel.
Yay!
What?
Yeah. Well, we're back after another week.
Are these intros getting weirder?
If anything, I think they're toning down. Well, it's probably in waves, like a sine curve. Speaking of sine curves, today's episode definitely has sine curves in them, which is wild. No, it's not wild. Do you want to guess what today's movie's about? Based off of the sine curve?
Space.
No.
Sound.
No. Although, yeah.
Art.
You ready?
No. I thought we were guessing.
Oh, well, you guessed some of it.
Fashion.
No.
Sound fashion?
No.
Whale watching.
No. I mean, it's interesting that when you say whale watching because that involves two different waves. The sounds of the whales and the waves that they're in.
Then 3 because light waves. Watching.
Hey! That's the first true note upon the head. Our podcast this week is about a movie called Stay Tuned. Came out in 1992.
Is this just like a plea to keep listening to our podcast?
No.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned, folks. Stay tuned. No, actually. This, it's interesting that we're doing this, that I found this movie. I have a suspicion it will rise in popularity, oddly, become less lost in theaters in the next couple months. Maybe.
What?
In the process of looking this up, there are these people who are going to make a TV show based on it. But that was also the only information I could find on. There wasn't like any intermediate stage. There was like, here's the movie, and then here are the people who are going to make it. It came out in 92, and it's 2020, so it's a bit of space there.
Yeah.
But actually, I think, so you know how also it's great that we're doing it because WandaVision is coming.
WandaVision. That looks trippy and painful.
Really excited for this because one of the things I love is when movies talk about movies. My favorite movies are about movies. Singing in the Rain, Hail Caesar, both on the top of my list.
Yep.
I only listed 2, but big fan.
Good.
Stay Tuned is also about movies, except it's about TV instead of movies. There was actually, so I haven't seen much of Supernatural, the TV show about the guys who hunt supernatural things.
Yes.
Okay, but I did go through a phase where I watched a bunch of Watch Mojo lists, and they went through their top 10 episodes.
Are you okay?
Yeah, it's like late at night when you go down that hole, and you're like, oh my gosh,
it's not a nice hole.
So many lists. It's really exciting.
That's usually a dark place in my life.
Oh, Ruthie. It's always exciting when I do it. It's like what we talked about a few episodes ago with whenever you watch all of the trailers that came out in the last,
We talked about that?
Yeah, pretty early on, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
I have no memory of
Speaking
this.
of things we talked about, one of the actors in this episode, in this movie, was in Best in Show, which is our second movie. His name is Eugene Levy. And he's back this time. No spoilers, so I'll tell you who he plays later. This movie, Stay Tuned, is... Oh, sorry, Supernatural tangent. There's actually an episode based on the same premise of this.
Which is?
We're still in low spoilers, Ruth. It's coming.
This is so extreme.
It should be added, this is not based on the 1989.
Wait, you gotta speak into the mic.
I know, I'm sorry. This is not based on the 1976 to 1977 Stay Tuned improv Canadian TV show.
Right.
That we all know and love, which wildly Eugene Levy was also a part of.
Oh, that's weird.
It's weird. No connection. I couldn't find any connection there except for this man. Additionally, the vibe of the show. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Huh.
Yeah, that came out in 1989, so it had sort of like a precedence.
Really?
It came out in the same era, very same feel, even to the way that the child actors act.
Wait,
and
you said it was the same vibe.
Same vibe. What'd I say?
Now I'm not remembering correctly. Dang it. What did
Okay.
you say? What did you say?
I don't know, man. Except it's actually more like its sequel, Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves.
I don't remember that one.
Well, it's basically the same premise.
Wait, actually, I only remember that one. I don't remember the first one.
Doesn't Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves that they have to eat the bananas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
potassium.
And the kid's like, I have potassium deficiency, and the kid's like, wait, I know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and
a
the
good
dad's
one.
like, that's not.
But they feed him bananas and he's fine.
Yeah.
It's good. Yes. So, there it's sort of got that feel. So if you're in the mood for it's kind of fun. It's an older. If you're in the mood for a early, like a movie that feels like your childhood that you haven't seen, that this one could fit the bill. You know, I could imagine a fun movie night with the friends.
Yeah.
You know, not really. It's very funny, actually. Not very funny. It is funny, and you can laugh at it, especially a first-time watch. There's lots of, what do we call them? Dewdrops. We don't call them dewdrops,
No,
Ruth.
We don't.
Tidbits, whiskers,
Huh?
call-outs,
Kittens.
No, it's the thing that they do
Brown
when they
paper
put something
packages tied up with string.
in a movie that
These are a few of my favorite things. I'm very tired.
something in a movie that alludes to another movie. What do they call that?
Reference.
Yeah. There's lots of movie references, but there's another word.
Oh no.
I can only think of dewdrops. What is going
That doesn't
on?
make any sense.
It's like an allusion or a hint or
Yeah, you allude to it.
they're like, here's all the things you missed in this episode. It's full of that.
Wait, what? That last sentence made me very confused.
It's like A113
What?
in all of the Pixar movies and
Oh,
lots of anime movies,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's like that.
Easter eggs.
Easter eggs!
That's pretty different.
But they're shaped kind of like dewdrops.
Oh my gosh.
Especially when they drop on the ground.
Ew.
No, dewdrops. No, when dewdrops drop on the ground, they have an
Eggs.
oval shape.
On the
No,
ground.
the egg is not on the ground. The dewdrop is on the ground. Right? Okay.
I thought they were on plants.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we have to move on.
Yeah, we gotta move on. Okay. Stay tuned. Full of hilarious. I unfortunately yes, didn't catch all of them, but it'll give a spoof on a TV show title. So if you like old TV shows,
I think that's
definitely
sufficient information.
Golden Gargoyles, for example, is one that shows up instead of Golden Girls.
Ooh. That seems like a comment about something.
No, oh no, it's not them.
No.
We're gonna
Of
go
course not.
before we. No, it isn't because
Uh-huh.
we're gonna go to the second section, the low spoilers section. The premise of the show is that a man and his wife get sucked into a television of the devil, which you have 24 hours to survive, and then they are contractually obligated to suck you back out, but otherwise you die for the entertainment of Satan.
Haha.
So there's all these.
What?
So they get sucked into this TV, and then there's like things so they're in a TV show.
So they're making a TV show about this?
They might be.
No, you said.
Yeah. There are talks about it.
Okay.
Yeah, their directors.
This is appealing to people?
Yeah, I think it's hilarious. I think it's so funny because
It makes me think of, like, The Good Place or something.
yeah, totally.
I haven't seen The Good Place.
Really? Well, so then maybe not. Like that. Well, it's kind of right. It deals with celestial comedy is a thing. You know,
This is a huge theme in Korean webcomics.
celestial comedy.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Do you mean like, the angels coming down and saying like, dude, you dropped the ice cream cone,
No,
and then
like,
the devil coming up and
being
saying
like, look at them do these things.
it's very Greek.
Yeah, but it's more like, entertain us.
Yeah. Interesting. So many thoughts right there.
Yeah.
Just
It is very Greek.
it's so Greek. Ancient Greek. For those listening, we like classics. Anyways, wow. Okay, so yeah, they're entertaining, and yes, that's the premise of the show.
Scott Joplin's the entertainer.
Or is that the other
entertaining.
Guy? Is it? Are you sure it's Joplin?
No. I think you're off key. Like, just barely. So it sounded briefly like The Mandalorian, and I was really confused.
Okay,
wow,
we're back.
We're real distracted today.
So distracted. What were we talking about? Oh, the show. I think it's a great premise because they get stuck in multiple different TV shows as characters.
Ooh.
Is the idea. And so they're aware of what's going on.
Uh-huh.
But then this world's happening around them. It's kind of fun.
This sounds like hell.
Oh, that's the kind of the point, you know?
Yeah.
It's more like purgatory, though. In that it's like...
No.
No,
this sounds like hell.
24-hour limit, and, like, you get out afterward.
Yeah,
the
anxiety level is absolutely insane.
The premise of the show.
I think I would die.
Yeah, Ruth. Yeah, we would. We would, Ruth.
Well, maybe not. Maybe it'd be fine. So anyway.
So this movie says it's rated PG, but it's definitely PG-13. I will say that. It's not like other movies that were PG, but then it turned out to, like, not be, and you just aghast at what's going on. No, it's more like, it's definitely...
Like B-U-G?
I thought you were giving a rating! I was like, what is the B-U-G rating?
For the movie that was scarring.
The scarring, yeah, the bug. Find that one, guys.
Say it.
Yeah.
B-word.
Oh, sister. Okay, so it's a great movie. I really enjoyed it. It's actually this is the kind of thing I crave to watch, actually.
What?
I'm not even kidding.
Junk food?
No.
Junk food.
What are you talking about?
Keep going.
Okay. Movies that, like, play with genre and deal with tropes but are self-aware. You know, I think that's a really fun premise.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I feel like in my childhood,
Whoa.
in my childhood, I absorbed a lot of sincere things in that genre. So I watched a lot of black and white things and I watched Bonanza. When I say old cowboy things, I mean I watched Bonanza.
You watched other things.
And like the black and white
did
Sherlock
we find
Holmes and like George Burns and Gracie Allen, and then like
Yeah,
lots of cartoons,
we love Gracie.
and old movies, but then new stuff too. And so like when things play with tropes, they remind me of the stuff that I've watched, and it's fun to engage with it, you know. Yeah. All right. It's a wild movie. You ready? Or any questions from the audience? Concerns?
I am the audience. Concerns, yeah.
Yeah.
Gore?
Oh, not that I was super aware of. There might be some blood, but it's nothing that stands out in a bad way. Which is odd, because these are demons.
Are you going to... So it's all psychological?
Mostly. There is, like, physical, like, altercation.
Okay.
But the goal, it's nowhere near a slasher at all. Yeah.
Anything, like, overtly sexual?
Yeah, but like I said, it's minimal and more on the PG-13 range than...
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Is music very interesting? Or can we just dump that?
You know what's interesting? Because it does play with genre,
yeah,
there is some musical change that goes on.
Okay.
Yeah, which is kind of
you
interesting.
hear that in the music.
Oh my gosh, graphic-wise, it's so fun. It's such a fun film because genre, it changes.
Oh.
It changes with that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. There it is, because it is the, what are we in the early 90s? There is some three-dimensional graphic things.
Uh-oh.
But it's brief and you can get over it pretty quick. It's not
cool.
super jarring.
Alright, full spoilers.
Here we go, folks.
This is getting incredibly elaborate.
So here was my thought. I was like...
You weren't gonna stop.
I wasn't. I was like, what we're gonna do is we're gonna buckle our intense space seatbelt, and then we're gonna close the hatch, and then we're gonna sail on through the journey. All right, full spoilers.
Nice.
It opens with a man and a woman watching television. An elderly couple. They're making popcorn.
Oh, no,
and then we get a ring on the door, and the man goes to answer the door, and the man says, oh dear. What does he say? Oh no, the man at the door is in a full like black trench coat, and it's like dark outside, and he says that you have been selected for a special offer.
No, thank you.
No. And then we cut to we cut to the woman then comes to see where her husband went because he's been gone for a while. She opens the door and we only see her. We don't see what she's looking at, and she's like, "Murray, what's going on?" And then she comes up and slide. It's all very shocking, and that's that.
So the stars of this movie are an elderly couple?
No. See, that's what's so interesting. Actually,
I was about to be really interested.
This is a fascinating storytelling choice because we get this introduction and then we get the credits, which it's not quite like the old Disney credits where they all come at the beginning, but it's sort of like the last days of that, so it's kind of long. And this one was particularly uninteresting because it was just these three-dimensional letters that went fuzzy. But then it cuts to the scene where it's like looking at this house and a voiceover starts happening and it's a boy's voice. And he's like, "My name is Daryl Nabel. And my life was pretty normal until that night."
Poor Daryl.
It's like just a boy, and he's like, "We were, and then he starts explaining his family, and his dad watches a ton of TV, gives a statistic that the average American at the time watches 7 hours of TV a day. Which is a lot of hours.
That is a lot of hours.
Aren't
there 8 in a regular day? No. What am I thinking? Mom gave me a weird hour the other day. Weird number for like, how many work hours in a day?
There might be 8 work hours in a day, because you go from 8 to 5, which is 4, and 5 is 9.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's 9 work hours in a day. And then that's 2 less than that. But let's think 24 hours in a day. A quarter of 24 is 6. So that's more than a quarter of your day.
Okay.
You spend watching television. And the other half you're asleep.
Wait.
I don't sleep for 12 hours. Okay. The boy says that he likes TV too. He's like, what I like to do is make money with it. And this is definitely dodgy. In retrospect, what he's making money doing, he hijacks all of the neighborhood's television network and puts himself on the network, and he's like, "Hey, I'm a cool kid and I know how television works, and if you want to make money, contact me so I can sell you a video of my sister." And she's like, "What?" It's chaos and bad, and you're like, huh? But he doesn't actually say that. He gets cut out right before he says all that information.
What?
So he's a jerk, but he's not that much of a jerk. He's like, yeah, his sister, kissing her boyfriend, and it's bad, but he doesn't get to actually do it because the plug explodes before.
You've gone very red on me.
I have. It's embarrassing.
I'm sorry, we can move
He
on.
broadcasts it to the neighborhood, but then the neighbor comes and says, "I hate it when your son does this, make him stop."
This is hilarious!
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I mean, it's terrible, but also,
inadvisable. Not appropriate at all, but also... He hijacked the neighborhood's television network.
So it's a jerk kid.
Yeah. You remember the kids from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
Not really, no.
Okay. It's just there's this way where they're, kind of frustrating, but they're pretty normal. He's just being annoying to his sister. That's what his intention was. Okay. Not anything, malicious. I'm gonna burn down the building. It's more like, ha! I can do this, and you're annoying. So he wants to make money with this television thing, but it doesn't quite work out. Then he starts explaining the voiceover continues, and he's like, my dad works at a suck job. And he's like, he's bored his whole life. And then he comes home and he gets to watch TV, and he watches TV the whole time. And then the dad, he pretends to fight with a sword, like a lance, because he's watching TV, he's watching something.
Yeah.
And the wife says, okay, honey, it's whatever you're doing. The kids orchestrate this whole thing eventually so that they have to leave the house. They leave the house to sleep over at their friend's house, so their parents can be alone because their mother is increasingly frustrated that the man doesn't talk to her. And he wants to, because he's so obsessed with the television, he no longer pays attention to his wife. She literally throws something at the TV, and then the next scene, she throws something through the TV, and then the next scene is of him watching the TV on a smaller TV on top of the broken TV. It's quite frustrating and sad. And she's decided that she's going to quit. Oh my goodness, no she doesn't. Not yet. So then there's a ring at the door. The man comes, says there's an offer you can't resist. I have a television that has more channels than you've ever seen in your entire life, he says. And you can, it's all in this remote control. He offers the remote control. There's a satellite dish, there's a whole thing, and he says, no, I shouldn't buy it, because, he says, like, I can't buy it, so good on you, man. And then the guy who's selling it to him says, did I mention free trial? And then immediately he
Great.
Yeah, he gets the free trial. He signs the dotted line, and now there's a massive satellite dish set up in his backyard. Like, it's huge. The television is the size. The television is quite small considering modern televisions, which I think is really funny. It's probably at least 1.5 foot diameter. Diagonal. But then it has these really big yellow boxes all around it that have beeping lights and speakers and knobs and bubbles. Yeah. So that's wild. But then what happens? Oh yes, the wife comes and sees that he's done this, and she's just so angry.
Yeah.
She starts packing. The satellite dish needs adjusting, so he goes out to adjust the satellite dish, and then his wife comes out to go and talk to him, and she's like, pay attention! And she throws something or whatever. She hits the satellite dish with something, and it comes, and then it sucks them in.
Okay.
Yeah. Now I remember the CGI at this point, and upon thinking about it, I wasn't disturbed because I was already in the mindset. It fits for like the visuals of the film.
Yeah.
But it is kind of odd. Yeah. So, meanwhile, the devil in the car drives down to the pits of hell. The road literally opens up, which is wild. And they end up in they go through the satellite, and they end up sitting in these seats. And it looks like a game show, and the guy's like, this is the game that you can't win. Welcome back.
What?
And it's, a game show.
Yeah.
And he asks them some questions about their relationship. And, they miss the first two. No. The wife gets one of them right, and the husband gets the other one right, and then the wife gets the second one right, and there was a trick question, and they got it. Hooray! Meanwhile, we find out that the devils have cooked up some scheme, and this is how they're just catching souls this way. But they only have 24 hours to do this, according to the contract they signed with the other side, some sort of deal. Soul acquisition, and it's entertainment. There's literally the purpose is to entertain Satan down there. That's the whole idea. The object is to kill them, and they have 24 hours to survive the show. And then, one of the demons fails to do his job well and gets sent in as well.
Oh.
This is Eugene Levy. Is this random demon who gets sent in. So now they get sent. They once they beat this game show, there's this panel that opens, and it's all fuzzy like television on static. Static television. You remember static television?
Yeah.
I remember static television. Okay, so it's all static, and they walk through the static, and they end up in a wrestling ring, dressed in wrestling outfits.
Oh my gosh.
And they're battling ogres.
Okay.
Mixed couples ogre wrestling.
Okay.
They win. Actually, the wife
How?
gets her hair pulled out at some point, and then gets really angry. The guy gets just beat up, and she actually at one point she ducks something, and then the one hits the other one. It's a whole thing.
Okay.
And so it's, you know, lucky that they get out, and then they get sent on to the next one.
Mixed couples ogre wrestling.
Yeah.
Just checking.
Isn't that great? Meanwhile, their son comes home from school. No, not school. From the sleepover. He comes home, and he doesn't really see anything, but he sees the awesome new TV, and he's like, wow! And then the daughter comes home, and they start flipping channels. And then there's this they have really weird ads, too. And they have this one for, like, a sound system, where it's called Hell Max. It'll blow you up.
Possibly literally.
It does. They demonstrate, but you don't. It's not a gory blowing up. He's just sitting there in the chair, and everything starts flying, slipping sideways, and then bang, and then his head's gone.
Yeah,
it's weird. Meanwhile, the parents have been transported to a snowy place, and this is where they meet the demon who got sucked in. He is digging in the ground looking for the portal. Okay. He's found it, but then they get attacked by wolves. They run into a shed. Meanwhile, the boy's bike gets sucked into the satellite dish.
What?
The the boy tries to tell his sister. He's like, the dish ate my BMX. And then the sister goes like, is this some puberty thing? Like, what is going on? Yeah, it's chaos. And then, here's the thing. He sees his bike on TV. He's so confused. I remember being a child. I feel like I could have recognized my bike on television. But at the same time, could I have recognized my bike on television? I would have believed that I could have. But I don't know if I actually could have recognized my bike on television.
Ooh.
Just a thought. What do you think?
Nah, you could have.
Yeah, well, mine was a lovely teal color.
We had weird bikes.
We did have weird bikes. So he tries to tell his sister not to go in the backyard. He's like, weird stuff is going on. Meanwhile, his sister has invited friends over, of course, because the parents aren't there. They're having a blast. A lantern gets knocked over in the shed.
Why is that always the impulse? Invite friends over. Parents aren't here.
Oh, they were just like practicing their cheerleading routines.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Huh?
Yeah. That's what I do when my friend.
Really?
I invite my friends over and we practice our cheerleading routines, Ruth.
Yeah.
With our pom poms. You know. Oh, yeah.
This is false, just for the record.
Yeah, I don't cheerlead, guys. Never had the gumption.
And continuing.
Okay. So the lantern gets knocked over inside the shed, and the shed catches fire.
Oh.
So they're like, oh no, what do we do? So here's what they do. The wolves have attacked the demon, by the way. He's being attacked outside the shed.
Oh my gosh.
They push the shed.
Wait, this is the parents.
Yes, the parents.
Okay.
Push the shed on the ground over to the hole, and then in the burning shed. And then they get over it, make it bigger, the girl goes in, and then the guy tries to go in, gets stuck, and then finally gets in, and the wolves barely miss him. They end up in an animated cartoon.
Oh no.
Similar to Tom and Jerry, and they're two mice. It's so cool. And there's a line where she's like, I'm an animated rodent wearing high-heel running shoes. It can't get weirder than this!
Aww.
Yes. Which I thought was quite funny. It's very cartoony. Oh my goodness. The whole sequence is amazingly done. It just, it feels very like Tom and Jerry, and they're being chased around, and it's a robot cat that's trying to eat them. And then what does he do to defeat the robot cat? He orders a robot dog from Acme.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And then they...
Well, that should take care of everything.
And so then they, it's actually during when, as a mouse, the mother has a crisis and starts talking to herself, And she's like, this is who I am. This is my life. Everything's going to be okay. And this boy happens to be watching the TV at that time.
Oh.
And he's like, Mom? What is going on? The wife got sucked in through the portal before her husband this time.
Okay.
And so she's been already in this new show, and then he follows her. And they end up in a black and white crime movie.
Oh.
Meanwhile, in the control room, one of the demons is trying to take over from the other one. Turns out the guy who offered the deal, quote unquote, for the TV isn't Satan. He's just some head honcho dude.
Okay.
So they, the kids start. Oh yeah. So eventually the son gets his sister to see their dad and mom in the show.
Okay.
And now they start taking apart tech for some mechanical reason to get their parents out. It's a black and white movie. The married couple finally meet up in the black and white movie, and then they meet up in a bar that then gets shot up by a mob. There to beat up the guy who's in there already because remember that old couple that got sucked in? He is actually still there, and he's running that bar.
What?
And because he had a TV remote, and he could just change the channel. He took the remote in with him. But
so he doesn't have this 24-hour thing.
Well, he does, but he was just changing the channel when it got too sticky. But here's the problem: he gets shot in this sequence, and then he's like, "Take my remote." So they take the remote. Bomb. He was a bit of a meanie person, though.
Okay.
Yeah, you weren't too upset about it, but it was sad because he's dead now. But
forever. Hell. Doomed.
Yeah, it's a rigged system in this movie. Allostropos discourse, folks. So then they change the channel and they end up in revolutionary France during the Civil War.
Okay.
And they're both dressed as women.
Okay.
And so his son makes a smaller dish out of their stuff they have at home, points it at the big dish, and tries to do some sort of communication thing. The problem is the power's not strong enough, so the son has to jump the fence, overcome the dog that's already been causing trouble. We learned about him earlier in the movie. We didn't discuss him. Plugs the thing into the house, and then what happens, Ruth?
It explodes?
No. He gets chased by the dog back over the fence. It's all good. Now they have enough power to theoretically, deal with this. The problem is the father is playing in this movie the role of a guy who's going to be executed, and he's in disguise. They figure it out. They take him to get executioned right when the son has figured out how to get the satellite dish, and then he speaks through the television to who? And his voice just echoes through, and everyone's like, God? In the movie. And then the mom has the wits to be like, yes, it is God, son. And then then he's like, yes, and let go of the man. He's not in trouble. And at this point, the 24 hours have actually run out. You're like, yay, they did it. But then the demons figure it out, and they're like, oh my gosh, only he signed the dotted line, so only he's contractually obligated to be let out. So they let the man out, but they keep the wife in. Also, the demon who was with them in the snowy place is back, and he lost an arm and a leg.
Okay.
Just randomly.
That's rough.
Yeah. So they make it 24 hours, but they only let the man out, Mr. Nabel. And then he goes, and so the bad guy gets the wife, takes her to the Wild West, and hitches her to the train tracks with some dynamite. And he says, she's gonna get hit by a train unless you come save her. And the dad's like, well, I guess I gotta go. So he goes back in to get his wife, but he brings the TV remote. Because he's ahead of this. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, the first remote got squished by a carriage right when they transported to the French Revolution.
Okay.
But he brings it back. And then comes the sequence where they go through like a bunch of TV shows. There's like Star Trek parody that gets in there. There's one where he's a test dummy. And over the announcer they're like, and now you're about to see an experiment with these test dummies, one of whom is entirely padded with airbags and a safe seat, and the other has no protection at all. And then the guy like looks and he's like, Because he's the dummy that has he's gonna die. And then he gets stuck in the hockey game. It's like the Mighty Ducks. And then some British movie that I couldn't understand exactly. This was a bit bloody. The bad guy runs over somebody with his car. That was kind of weird. Very strange. The best one, though, by far, is when they get stuck in a... Does that happen after? Am I missing something? No, I'm not. Okay, they get stuck in a... Oh, no, that's later. Okay, because then they go to a British movie.
Okay.
No. Medieval movie.
Okay.
With what, Ruth? Fencing.
Okay.
Which he was doing earlier.
Oh.
So he can actually fence. But the problem is only the bad guy has a fencing sword. So what do the children do? They grab his fencing sword off the wall and throw it into the satellite, which then gets to him, and then he can fence, and yay! But then they have to change the channel again, and they get put into a music video.
Oh no.
Which was my favorite sequence by far, because it was, I think they wrote a song for this, and they're just legitimately like hip-hop dancers, and everyone's boogieing, and it's great. I love it so much. It was so funny. The remote is being handed to like different people who are dancing, so it's, hopping around. One of them turns off the volume. And like on the bottom of the screen, the little green lines show up and go shoop, and you can't hear. It's so funny. And then it gets turned back on. Eventually, they get handed around, and then the problem is, let's see what happens. Oh yes, he uses the remote to cancel. I don't know what happens to the bad guy, actually, if I'm being honest. He uses the remote to get him into a TV.
In the TV?
They're already in the TV, and then the bad guy ends up in another TV with the remote. The good guy gets the remote, and he points the remote at the bad guy, and then the bad guy gets put into a TV inside the TV.
Okay.
Not sure what happened there.
Yep.
But the word cancel was used.
Okay.
But it's 92, so it doesn't mean what it means now.
Okay.
Yeah.
What?
It's real confusing. But then he goes to his wife, and his wife, what happens to his wife? Oh yeah, they're like, oh no, the train's coming. What are we gonna do? He can't get it undone soon enough. So what does he do? What do you do when you want to stop watching television?
You close your eyes.
You turn off the TV. So he turns off the TV, and it works, and it sucks them out.
Oh, are you kidding?
Yeah.
They could have just done that?
Apparently they could have just done that.
So it could use a little work.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Then the dog gets sucked into the satellite.
Oh, no.
And then the satellite melts. Because they beat the system.
Oh, dang it.
Meanwhile, the one-armed, one-legged guy gets to make the bad guy suffer because he made him suffer.
How is he walking?
He has a crutch.
Okay.
And the boy, then the voiceover happens again, and the boy's like, everything was okay after that, and Dad quit his job and started a thing that he really liked to do, and turns out he starts a fencing club.
Oh, good.
And that's all we see of the family.
Okay.
In that final sequence. We don't see them living their lives happily together. No, it's the dad at the fencing club. And that's where the movie ends.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
So it's a really fun premise.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like they had fun with it.
They had so much fun with it. And I didn't record, unfortunately, all of the great titles, but there were great movie titles thrown out that were spoofs. And they had so much fun making it. And it comes through in the movie.
Cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Ruth?
That
I think
fun.
it'd make a good TV show.
Yeah.
I just asked what you thought, and then I spoke. So I will be quiet now. What do you think?
Quiet now.
No, you're not allowed to do that. Oh my goodness. Thoughts?
I have thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm hungry now.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
All right. About the movie, Ruth.
I think it would also be a good TV show.
Yeah.
Parrot.
Parrot. Parrot. You're the parrot.
No. Yeah, no, I give you my thoughts. I thought it was fun.
It was fun. And it's weird because I think that it isn't the perfect film, as we discussed, you know. It's definitely got some, you know, but it's fun.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, folks, that's the movie this week. Stay tuned. 1992. Stay tuned to us too. Maybe we should start saying that at the end of our podcast. Stay tuned, folks, for our next podcast.
But it's about to end.
Yeah. Keep your ear to the ground, like Aragorn, listening for the Uruk-hai in the distance to anticipate our next podcast.
Holy smoke.
I think this is our penultimate podcast. I think next week's our last one.
The way you say that is terrifying.
Our seasonal penultimate podcast.
We have one more episode in this season.
That's correct. And we'll be back again next February for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, but we have one more this month. That'll be great. And maybe a bonus conversation. We're still working on that one about the thing in the future.
About what?
About what it means to be lost in theaters.
Oh.
Yeah.
Bonus
time. Bonus
so
time.
if anyone's up for sketchy philosophy,
I mean, it's a dangerous game to play.
And it's time to go.
Okay. Anyway, folks, thanks so much for listening. You can find us on Instagram. At Lost in Theaters. You can find us on Twitter, also at Lost in Theaters. The L is capitalized and the T is capitalized, but I've been wondering if that matters. Like when you do an email address.
Not really.
Yeah. Anyway, this has been Lost in Theaters. Thanks so much for listening. And we will be here again next week. Bye! The song, by the way, was the... should I do a different song?
What?
I've sang a lot this episode.
This is up to you.
We'll meet again, don't know where. Okay, goodbye, folks. Bye. It's lovely.